Hey guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday, the 8th of July 2018. Welcome if you're watching for the very first time, and welcome back if you're a returning viewer. This is the first time I've recorded in 2 weeks because we've just come back from our holiday. So this is going to be a really jam-packed episode. I have so much stuff to talk to you guys about, to show you. I'll start with some administration and some giveaway winners, followed by lots of finished objects, works in progress, yarny acquisitions, some of which have been made in France. And then depending on how far and how long this podcast has already gone on, I might go a tiny bit into our holiday. I'm not quite sure about that yet. We'll just see how it goes. But first of all, let us have some coffee in my probably favorite mug ever, my Lux mug. Because yes, I love Gilmore Girls. If you didn't know, I love coffee and Gilmore Girls, which works really well together. So that is that. And I have missed my coffee machine. We had pretty good coffee in France, but it wasn't like as good as my coffee at home. So anyways, I will try to keep most of the holiday stuff towards the end. We'll see how that goes and if I actually succeed with that, but that is the idea anyways. Also, last thing up front, today I'm wearing my Fading Point shawl by Joji Locatelli. All the details in terms of what yarn I used and so on can be found on my project page. I actually took this with me on the holiday and it's been really, really useful. I remember when I was knitting it, it's like a blanket. It is huge. It has 5 skeins of yarn. And I thought maybe I'll never wear it or maybe it'll be more like a blanket. But I actually wear it all the time. It's really handy for traveling because it can work like a cardigan, a sweater, a shawl, a blanket. You can just do whatever. And it turns out it's really good at the airport. So that is that. And with that, let us jump into the episode. So first of all, we have a group on Ravelry called the Happy Knitting Podcast group, which I will always link right underneath this video. My personal Ravelry account is Wupfi, which is WUEPFI. And I have an Instagram account, of course, which is the Happy Knitting Podcast, and that's the place to go if you want to be caught up with what I'm doing, maybe look at some holiday pictures. That all can be found there. In the group, we have a couple of knit-alongs running at the moment. We have the Summer Stash Down, which runs until the end of August. To use up your stash, play with your stash, get some skeins out. Details can be found in the group, and I am overwhelmed with the amount of participation for this one. This has been so fun. And we also just finished the knit-along for my first ever sock pattern, which was the Couch and Crackers socks. So that ended on July 1st. I have closed the threads and picked a winner using random.org. And the winner that came up randomly was number 9, who is Ucha, and that is Jessie. Jessie has a podcast. She's the Hungry Cat podcast, and I'm so excited that you won, Jessie, because we have been following each other on the podcasts and on Instagram, and she knit a beautiful pair of socks. So if you're wondering what you're winning a skein of the exact yarn that I used to design or knit my version of these socks. And this yarn is by Holland Handmade Co., which is Erin, who also has a podcast or used to have a podcast called Holland Handmade and is now dyeing yarn. This is in the 80/20 merino nylon blend. It's a one-of-a-kind speckles colorway. You might remember the one that I used to knit my pair of socks was a blue speckled, and this is this beautiful purple. And it's just really, really stunning yarn, and I really enjoyed knitting with this base as well. So I hope that you will enjoy it, and thank you, Erin, for donating this as a prize. So Jessie, just get in touch with me, preferably via Ravelry. Send me your address and full name, and this will go out to you very soon. With that, let us jump into some finished objects because I have quite a few. I should probably start with the ones that I finished before even going on holiday. And there are two of those. So the first one I finished, which you've seen before, is my sock blank socks, which have not been blocked yet. But these are sock blanks knit out of a these are socks knit out of a sock blank from oh my gosh, what is the name? Craftfulness, Sandra's Craftfulness yarn. Sorry, that took me a second there. I don't have the tag with me to show you guys today, but this was one of the sock blanks that she sent along with some which I've already given away and when we did our sock blankathon. I don't think it has a colorway name, but it's just this beautiful purple with like specks of brown and yellow and blue, and it's just stunning. You can see that the first sock, this one, is quite a bit darker than the second one, which I don't mind. I really love both of them, and I'm also really happy to have them done. As you can see, I did relatively long legs, which I tend to do with my sock blank socks. And I really enjoy knitting with the yarn. It's very, very soft. Like I said, I haven't blocked these yet, so the yarn is still a little bit crinkly, but I think it turned out really nice. And this pair will most likely be for myself. So that is my first pair, and all of the socks that I'm talking about have been knit on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles unless otherwise specified. And this one, because for me it's 64 stitches. Next up is a finished object that you never saw as a whip, and that is a hat, which I talked about on my last podcast because I had just bought the yarns very, very specifically for that pattern, and that yarn was Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. I bought it in 4 colors. I don't have the names and anything with me right now, but it's all linked in my project page. Together with my friend Marion, because we both wanted to make a hat that was in a sample in the yarn shop. And that hat was the Beanie Christine by Astrid Tüting, who is Knit for Passion on Ravelry. And she has some beautiful colorwork designs. So I cast on, I think, right after I podcasted last, and then finished the hat. So this is it. And isn't this just beautiful? I love this hat. So this was my very first time knitting with the Jamieson and Smith yarn, which it is the perfect colorwork yarn. It is perfectly woolly and sticky, and it bloomed beautifully when I was blocking it. And it was just a joy to knit with. I'll give you a close-up so maybe you can see how the stitches look. But it just becomes this beautiful fabric, like you can't really distinguish the stitches anymore. It's just beautiful color work, and I really, really love how it turned out. The pattern was very clear. The only modification I did was I did the ribbing, the corrugated ribbing for the small size, and then increased after the rib for the size medium. But the hat turned out quite big, so maybe if I knit this again, which I actually really want to in different colors, I will actually knit the entire hat in the small size. I think that would be a little bit better because this is quite big on me. But it's not too big, like it's nice and slouchy, and it's going to be super warm because the yarn, I think, is a decay weight, and then obviously pretty much held double with, or not double, but with the stranded, you have the strands on the insides, the floats, and I just really, really love how this turned out. A little bit sad that it's super hot outside, so I can't wear it right away, but I really enjoyed it, and it's a pattern that I think I'll go back to. And if you have like leftover scraps from knitting, maybe colorwork sweaters and so on, this would be a perfect project for you, because I think I only used about 15 grams of each color or something like that. I measured it, and I think it was roughly just over half a skein of each color, even though some you use more than others, of course. But this was a really fun, quick project to knit up, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Oh, if you want to see my floats, I'm not sure how they're looking. This is them. I really hated weaving in all the ends. I tried carrying yarn as much as possible, but still I ended up with what felt like a lot of ends. But it's all done now, it's all blocked and perfect, and I really, really enjoy it. So that is that. And with that, we will move on to the things that I actually finished while we were away. So I finished 2 pairs of socks while on holiday. The first one is a pair of socks for Kai. And this is them. So they're fraternal socks because they're exactly the opposite of each other, I guess. He loves them. He said these are his favorite socks I ever knit him, which makes me super happy. As you might know, my boyfriend Kai, he's very knit-worthy, and he does love his neon things and colorful things. So I knit these socks, like I said, on a US size 1 needle, because they're for Kai. I did 68 stitches. What I did is as you can see, I just did the ribbing, which I think is 20 rows, and then did some 2-row straps. Then knit the majority of the sock, including the fish lips kiss heel, in one color, and then, I don't know, I think like 15 or 20 rows before the toe, I changed color again, and I really like the effect. I think they're really fun socks, and the yarn that I used, I love. I'm saying a lot today. The yarn is Socks Yeah by Coop Knits, which is the yarn brand of Rachel Coopy. And this was part of her Neons and Neutrals club, which I'll talk about more later because my latest shipment has just arrived. So I think the green was in the first, in the second shipment. It's called Krypton, I think. And the blue was in the first shipment, and I just thought they went perfectly together, and Kai really loved the neon green. So they're done, and I'm very, very curious how these will wear, especially because we already ordered more because Kai wants a second neon pair, which I'll talk more about when the yarn arrives, and maybe I will knit them straight away, we'll see. But I'm really, really curious about this yarn because it's one of my favorite yarns recently that I've knit with, so we'll see how it goes. So those are done. And then there's one last pair of socks that is done, and that is these socks. You might remember these. I was knitting these while trying out the crazy trio needles by Addi, which apparently are called Flexi Flips in the States. I don't know why. The ends are woven in, I just haven't clipped them. Anyways, these are actually size 0 because I ordered the wrong thing. So they're only 2mm, which I thought would be fine because with these tiny needles, my gauge I thought was going to be looser anyways, because that's what happened when I was knitting with the 9-inch circulars that everyone was crazy about a while back. But as it turns out, the more I got used to these, the tighter I was knitting. So I'm not sure if you can see, but you can definitely tell that the first sock I knit, especially on the leg, it is much looser than the second sock. So I must have just gotten into a rhythm, and now my gauge is really tight. So I'm not really sure how I feel about size 0s with a tight gauge. I don't really know what I'm going to do with these. I still haven't decided if I love or hate them. I do not mind them as much as I did in the beginning. So I could see myself knitting another pair, and who knows, maybe I'll get even more comfortable with them. But it was a fun experience anyways. And the socks, they are not matching, and they are a smaller size because they're going to be a gift. And I think they turned out really, really fun. This was the first time also for me to try a new yarn. This yarn is Comfort Sockenwolle, which is a brand made in Italy, but for H&W Germany, apparently. This is the tag. It says Comfort Sockenwolle, which means sock yarn, colorway number 11804. It's your sort of standard sock yarn blend, but this is actually quite soft. I, again, think this is softer than Opal or Regia. I'm not sure how well it will hold up, but I do think it should hold up quite well because it does have the nylon, and especially because it's knit on a tighter gauge, that should make it even more durable. And yeah, it was a really nice yarn to knit with. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I didn't really enjoy is the fact that here is a purple stripe and you can't tell. because it hasn't been dyed very well, which seems to be the same thing for a lot of dyers. Like Felici does the same thing, where you usually can't tell one stripe. But they have been really fun, and yeah, I guess I would recommend this. And you can get this yarn on a couple of German like online yarn shops, and I think even overseas. Please don't ask me where to get it, because I honestly even forgot where I got mine. But I remember when I googled this that there were quite a few places who sold this yarn. So yeah, these are done. Very excited about these. I was growing a little bit sick of these, even though when I actually just worked on these, they went really fast. But yeah. So, that is it for finished objects. And I will go into some works in progress now. So where should we start? I will start with what's on top of the pile, even though that is the most recent thing I cast on, so it doesn't really make sense chronologically, but you guys don't care. So when I was in France, I was, of course, looking at patterns and dreaming of the yarn that I didn't take with me, and I have these 2 skeins of yarn that I really wanted to become a brioche shawl. And when I saw this pattern by Lavanya Patricella is her name, this is the Residence shawl, I just knew that that was a perfect brioche shawl that I've been looking for that yarn. So as you can see, it's a 2-color brioche. It's black and white printed, but it is 2 colors, and it's called Syncopated Brioche, which I think is really, really fun and interesting. And yes, I printed out a pattern, which I never, ever do. I usually don't, because I could just look on, like, I save the patterns on my phone, and then I just work from my phone. But this is the first pattern in possibly ever where I actually felt the need to take off every row, because every row is different, and taking back brioche is almost impossible for me. So I printed out the pattern, hence I have a picture to show you, which is quite handy, except for nature and all that. But anyways, the colors that it shows. First, I have this beautiful tonal, slightly speckled purple, very soft colors. Both of these yarns are from Qing Fibers, which is a UK-based dyer. I got the yarn in Munich at my local yarn store, Die Mercerie. But I think she also sells on Etsy, unless she got her own page recently, I'm not quite sure. But this is the first color that I'm using, right? Very soft, very beautiful. And then this is the second color, which is very, very neon-y. In fact, it is blowing out the camera. It is crazy neon. I was actually kind of scared when I wound it, because it turned out much more neon than it looked in the skein. But I do love it. Yes, my cake is very messy, because I know that it's not a good idea to make center pull balls with singles yarn, because they will always get a tangle. Yet I thought this time it would be fine, and of course it isn't, so yeah, I have a bit of yarn mess to deal with later. This is the tag, Qing Fiber. And like I said, the neon one is called Smiler, and what's the other one called? The other one is called Cuttlefish, and they're both a merino singles base. So I bought these quite recently, and I always knew that I wanted to make a crazy, colorful brioche shawl, because I feel like with brioche you can get away with lots of crazy colors. So I cast on as soon as we got back from our trip last night. We got back at like 10 p.m. and I cast on. So this is what I have so far. It's my first time in a while knitting brioche, and I'm planning to do a brioche cardigan very soon, so it felt good to have like a quicker brioche project first to get back into it, and then hopefully I will breeze through the cardigan as well. So you can see now that I'm starting the syncopated brioche, which is a brioche pattern that I've never done before, and it's really, really fun. I really like how it's turning out. It's still really definitely, it does need a block. It's kind of going all over the place right now, but I really, really like it. This is the front, and this is the back, which doesn't really matter with brioche. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. Like I said, I have to actually tick off every row. I can't just, well, I do knit this while watching TV, but I need to be careful. But it's all a matter of just knowing how to start the rows, and then now that the rows are getting a little bit longer, it's getting easier because you get more into like the brioche rhythm. And yeah, I'm really happy to be back at brioche. I know that I'm using singles yarn isn't ideal for colorway for brioche because those singles tend to be quite slippery, and yeah, they're just not the best, but I don't really care. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. I'm knitting it on 3.5mm US size 4 needles, which is actually what the pattern calls for. For once, I'm using the right needles, right? Isn't that insane? So yeah, that's where I am with that. Just cast on last night, did like 3 rows today, and I really want to get back to knitting on this. I really hope that I'm not going to have to rewind the entire neon skein, but I have a feeling that's going to happen. But I'm still in denial about that right now. We'll see how it goes. And now I caught my yarn in the zipper. Isn't that lovely? Do you guys always do that too? That's why lately I've been really enjoying the drawstring bags. Anyways, other projects that I'm working on. I have 2 sock projects going at the moment, and this one is probably my favorite one, and it's also the one that I associate most with our holiday because I've just been working on it a lot. It's another pair of sock blank socks. So apparently as soon as the sock blankathon ended, I cast on all the sock blanks. And this was a sock blank that was gifted to me from Sabrina of Das Mondschaf. And it was a double-stranded sock blank, and quite a few people got in touch with me saying you should really rewind the sock blank, and I thank you for that. I pretty much decided as soon as I got these that I wanted to do that as well, but that just reinforced my mission to take the sock blank apart, which was a little bit of work, but so I wound it into 2 separate balls, and that made it perfect for knitting 2 at a time. So let me get organized, which is very hard for me, especially with sock blank spaghetti all over the place. These have turned into Christmas socks because they are crazy Christmassy, which I absolutely love. So I'm joining in all the Christmas in July knit-alongs, and aren't they amazing? I just love these. So because they are a double-stranded sock blanks, that means that they are dyed the exact same way, and therefore they will pattern the same way. Mine are about half a row, or half a round off. So pretty much the exact mirror image is always on the other side. But they do pull in the same way, which I think is really, really, really cool. And I just really enjoy these colors. I rarely ever knit with red, even though I would like to knit more with red. And like this bright red, and then with these speckles of green, it's just perfect. So as you can see, it started out quite light, and now we're very, very much in the red. I did Fish Lips Kiss heels on both of the socks, and now I'm just ready to zoom down the feet. Again, I knit quite long legs for these because I just wanted to use the most of this yarn. And these will be my Christmas socks. So very happy to have my Christmas socks done in July, hopefully. Which isn't to say that I won't cast on more Christmas socks, but this has been really, really fun. And I have a couple of other Christmas skeins in my stash. So now that I've started this whole Christmas thing, I feel like maybe I'll cast on some more Christmas socks. We'll see how it goes. I have a couple that I really need to knit up for my sister and Kai, because there's the Christmas line by Regia, and I bought a couple of colors for them. They actually chose them, and then I never knit them last Christmas, so I really should knit them this year. But yeah, that is that. US size 1, 64 stitches, and I really, really like it. So that is my favorite France project. I think I cast this on like the first or second night, and I always took knitting with me. I didn't really do much knitting when we were going like on trips and stuff, but it was nice to have knitting. The second sock I cast on is also with a new to me yarn, and I will be totally transparent here because lately in Germany at least there has been some debates about advertisement on Instagram and on social media and so on. So this yarn I did get for free. Maike, who is the dyer of Das Regenbogenschaf, who has since changed the name of her shop to Scuderia. So I will try to link that in the show notes, which will be right underneath this video. I've worked with her before, and when we met in person, she gave me one skein of her merino fingering weight sock yarn to try for free. So there you go. I will still always tell you my own opinions about these things. I'm never paid. I don't get paid to say anything. I don't get yarn in exchange to say anything good about the yarn, but just to be transparent, there you go. So anyways, Maike, who is lovely and she has beautiful yarn, she gave me this merino sock yarn in one of her chaos colorways, which means that they're one of a kind, I think. So this used to be her old logo. Like I said, it has since changed, but it's a merino sock yarn. It's hand dyed, of course. It is 75% merino, 25% nylon. And this is the colorway. So this is how it looks caked up. It was a very, very colorful skein, which I enjoyed. I just thought that would be really fun to knit up and try the yarn. And because it's so colorful, I decided to just go for a simple vanilla sock. And this is what it looks like. Isn't it fun? I really like the way that this is very colorful, but yet it's somehow muted. Like the colors just aren't super neon. They're more like muted colors, almost autumnal. And I really, really love how they're knitting up. So yeah, I'm about halfway, maybe 3/4 down the leg. What I notice about this yarn is that it is a very fine yarn, so it feels very fine when you're working with it. It has a tiny bit of a halo going on, and I really enjoy it. Like, it's not a lot of the 80/20 blends, they're very heavy and they're very plump, and this is more like loose, and yeah, I feel like I enjoy these yarns more in terms of wear for year round, whereas the other ones tend to be sort of very, very warm. So I really like it so far. I feel like the gauge is looser than I usually knit. I'm not really sure why that is happening, but I really enjoy it. So I will let you know as I keep on knitting on these. And yeah, that is my sock knitting. And these will most likely be for me because I want to know how the yarn feels when you wear it, but you never know. But that is that. And then I have one last work in progress, which is of course my sweater in my favorite bag ever at the moment by Thimble and Thread Makes. And that is my Birkin sweater. So the Birkin sweater is quite a popular pattern by Caitlin Hunter of Boyland Knitworks. It is usually a sweater in like one main color and then lots of colorful flowers. Some people have chosen to do it in 2 colors, and I chose to do mine in 3. So it's not really the traditional Birkin sweater anymore, but I really like it. So let me show you the sweater first and then talk about the yarn. This is where I am with it. So you can see I'm using this very light sort of ecru color. This is all Holzgarn Super Soft, which I think I talked about so many times in this podcast. I won't go into detail in this episode, but it's all Holzgarn. Then I used like I think this one's called Purple Haze for like the leaves. This one is called Almond, and then I'm using purple for all of the flowers. So this is where you usually have lots of different colors, and you have 3 color work, which is something that I'm not going to do because I don't have the patience. So I just did all of it in one color, which it required a tiny bit of fiddling with the chart, but it was actually quite easy. and I really like how it is coming out. So I think I'm about 4 rows away from finishing with the flowers, and then there's gonna be one more repeat of this, and then it will be just super fast stockinette sweater. I'm actually kind of excited to get to that point now. This colorwork yoke feels like it has taken me a while. But yeah, I really like it. It has not been blocked yet. I thought about blocking it when we were away just because I wanted to see how it looks once it's all blocked out. But I tested the yarns. I did a swatch, so the color shouldn't bleed, but I'm still a little bit careful. So I decided to wait with blocking and use some color catchers just in case to prevent the whole sweater being ruined. So that is where I am with that right now. This is the inside. If you want to see the floats, there are quite a lot of floats in here. I was super smart. I actually wanted to finish the yoke on holidays, but then I forgot to bring the dark yarn, so I knew that I couldn't finish it. And I don't know, it just kind of bummed me out, and then I didn't work on it as much, but I did get quite a bit of work done anyhow. Yeah, so that is that. I'm knitting this on 3.25 millimeter needles, which I think is a US size 3. And yeah, that's where we are with that. I'm a little bit nervous about the fit because I've heard from a lot of people that this isn't the best yoke fit-wise. So I'm leaning on the oversized side of things, and just in case, because I feel like if it's oversized, it doesn't matter, but if it's too tight and then it moves up, it'll be really weird. So that's where I am with that, and I should really put some work into this. So yeah, you guys, that is it for my works in progress and finished objects. I feel like I've been talking forever and ever. I'm also getting quite hungry. But yeah, I have quite a bit of yarn to show you guys as well, so we'll go through some acquisitions. So if you're not interested in that, that is fine. Then I will just see you next week. But if you do want to stick around, I think I'll start with the yarn that arrived while I was away, which was part of a club. And then I will go into my French yarn purchases, which are really, really exciting. So I am part of the Neons and Neutrals Club by Rachel Kupi, which I talked about before. That was actually my birthday gift from Kai, and it's a great birthday gift because it's the gift that keeps on giving. For I think 5 months, you get like 3 50-gram skeins of yarn each month and a pattern, and it's really fun. So the 3rd shipment arrived when we were on holidays. So I'll show the yarns now. Look away if you don't want to see it, but I think it's been out for quite a while. So there we go. I really enjoy these 3 colors together. It's these 3. Aren't they pretty? So obviously the purple is the neon one, even though I feel like this whole combination isn't too crazy. It's relatively toned down, and I love all 3 colors. So these are all 50-gram skeins, and as I said, it comes with a sock pattern. So far I haven't used any of the sock patterns. I think I want to do different things with these skeins. I showed you guys a book a couple of episodes ago with colorwork socks, so these yarns would be great for that. I also really kind of want to do like colorwork mittens with this. I want to do all the colorwork in case you haven't noticed. But I really, really like all of these. The top one is called Chryso. The almost white one is called Quartz. And oh yeah, the purple one is called Radon or Radon. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. But I really, really like these, and I just love collecting these skeins. Even though, as you know, I've used 2 of those for Kai socks, and I really enjoyed knitting on them as well. So that is my non-France yarn. And now we will move on to my France yarn, which I honestly thought this was going to be the holiday where I wasn't going to buy any yarn. We went to a yarn store in Vence, where I went last year, the Bergère de France yarn. And I was really, really sad to get a sweater's amount of yarn for like a linen sweater that I saw there last year, and when we came back, they only had one skein, so that was kind of sad. So after that, I left the yarn not having bought anything, which never happens. And I thought, well, I'll just not buy any yarn this time and it'll be actually really good. But then, as it turned out, we ended up going to Nice twice. And we were in Nice also last year. And after we went to a yarn store there last year, which was called Au Belle Laine. And that was quite good. And then later, some French podcast viewers got in touch. Was like, why didn't you go to this other store? But obviously I didn't. And this time when I returned, I knew about it. So I did go. After all, after 1 year, I managed to go to this place called La Droguerie. Excuse the wrinkle bag. This has been in my suitcase. But La Droguerie is a French yarn store. It's a French yarn and fabric store. They also have lots of like buttons and ribbons. It's a beautiful, beautiful store for crafting. And I think they have it in like, I don't know, 8 or something locations in France as well as in Japan, which is really interesting. And what happens is you enter the store, and it's very different to your usual yarn store. So essentially, sorry, I'm looking for the tag while talking. I should talk first and then show you the tag. They have their own brands of yarn, and they work with different designers. They do a lot of kits, even kits where you get the yarn and the fabric to make like a matching knit fabric, knit sweater and hand-sewn skirt or something, which is so cute. And they had amazing kits like that. And so that you don't find the yarn in hanks lying around or in balls, but you have these huge displays. And they're basically just all the colorways of one quality. They're just hanging up and you can like touch them and feel them and combine them. And then you choose what you want and you can buy the exact yardage that you want, or meterage or weight. So like I picked what I wanted, and then I told the lady that I wanted 400 meters of this and 400 grams of this and 350 grams of that. And then she got out these huge cones and a big scale, and she wound those up for me, which was a really cool experience in itself. And I really like that way of buying yarn for garments. Like, if I lived in France, I think I would always just buy garment yarn. I mean, you could do all sorts of things with those yarns, but it just lends itself to the idea of knitting garments because you can get exactly the amounts you want. It'll be all one dye lot because it's essentially just one giant skein. And it's just beautiful. So I really enjoyed the time we spent there. I think we were there for like 45 minutes. The ladies were also very helpful, and they did help me in English because my French isn't terrible, but when you're choosing quantities and discussing sweaters, then maybe English would be better for me anyways. So they were super friendly and helpful, and it was just a really great experience in itself. So, what are the yarns that I got? I will say in advance that I basically wanted to get all the mustard yellow yarn because I'm all into the yellows, in case you haven't noticed. I also bought myself a yellow handbag because yes, yellow. But I decided to then only get one yellow sweater quantity because that would be enough yellow for a while, considering I have another yellow drops quantity in my stash. So this is my first sweater to be. This is 100% wool yarn, and it's really interesting in the way that it's plied. I think it's like a really loose chainette construction. I will try to show you. Like, can you see? It's not a typical ply, but it's really soft, and it feels a little bit like a woolen spun yarn. It isn't really woolen spun, I think, but the structure of it is really nice. It feels very woolly, and honestly, I think it would make great color work, but I decided to go for just one color. So I got 400 grams of this yarn, so 200 gram skeins, which this doesn't look like that much yarn. I hope I have enough, but I think I should be okay. So I want to make a beautiful sort of loose gauge autumn sweater with this, and I think it will be amazing. And I got the tags for all of these. Let's see if I can find them. Of course, they're in the bottom of the bag. Maybe this is really boring for you, I'm not sure. Okay, so here we go. This is the name of the store. And a cute postcard, isn't it adorable? And they have stores in Paris, Bordeaux, Lille, Lyon, Marseille, Nantes, Nice, Rennes, Strasbourg, Toulouse, and Kyoto in Japan. So that is interesting. And the yarn that I just showed you is this one. So you can actually see the sheep, isn't that cute? And you get this little booklet and it gives you information in French. It gives you information on like the row gauge and how to adjust for gauge, and I just think this is really cute. And this one also has a color palette for you to take with you, and I think it's really cute. So that is the first sweaters quantity that I bought. And then another thing that I knew immediately that I wanted to get was a sweaters quantity of linen. I've been wanting to get my hands on some linen for ages. My friend Marion, she knit me some linen face cloths, I think for Christmas maybe. And I use them all the time and I love it. And I do want to make myself a linen sweater or like a loose fitting, like 3/4 length sweater tunic, because I think it would be so good to wear, like even for work maybe, because it's nice and it's cool, and I don't really wear like proper woolen things for work, but this could work. So I got this colorway. This is the linen yarn. It's 100% linen and it actually felt quite soft. They had lots of samples, and I know that just by working with this and washing this will become even softer, but even now it doesn't feel too ropey. I'm not sure if you can tell by close up, but this is the colorway. I really like it. And again, I got a little thing called Le Lin, and it's all info about the linen, and so that is that. So I'm imagining like a nice loose, maybe even boxy sort of short sleeve sweater, and then I can just wear that with a tank top or whatever I want underneath. And then my big treasure, you guys, look at that. I saw this and I knew I wanted to make myself a fancy sweater by Joji Locatelli, which is the Like a Cloud cardigan. So you probably have heard of this pattern. It's really popular at the moment, Like a Cloud. It's this textured stitch cardigan that most people are knitting using a strand of normal yarn and a strand of mohair or mohair silk or something held together to make a really fuzzy, beautiful cardigan. And the sample is knit in this beautiful gray. And then I saw this, and this is not 2 strands, this is just 1 strand, but it's very similar in terms of the yarn and in terms of the feel and the look of it. I'm not sure if you can see the halo. It does have quite a bit of halo, it's quite a fluffy yarn. And I saw this and I knew I had to make that cardigan and get that yarn as a treat to myself. So this is definitely the fanciest yarn by far from the ones that I got. This is called Caresse. And it's 10% Angora, 15% soy, 18% mohair, and 23% wool, and 34% bamboo. So that's an interesting blend, isn't it? And I like how they made pictures of everything, so you know what kind of animal you're using. But this is really fancy yarn. This comes to about a sport weight, which I think is a little bit too heavy. But I think I should get away with it. I'll just knit a smaller size and I think it should be fine. I also hope I have enough yardage with this one. I got about 360 grams, but I don't want to make it as long as the sample is. So again, I think I should be fine, because usually I need about 3 skeins for a fingering weight garment for myself, because I like to knit on a loose gauge. And so yes, this is my yarn baby and I love it, and it is so soft. yeah, I want to cast this on immediately, but I also wanted to cast on the brioche shawl. And I knew that the responsible thing would be to not cast this on at least until I finish the color work of my sweater here. Because to have two sweaters in like the beginning stages wouldn't be good. So I think once I finish the color work on this and I'm just sipping down, like this will be very mindless, and then this will be a good project to start. So I'm very, very, very excited about this. And yeah, and now I have fluff everywhere. So these are my Journey purchases from France. I love them. I would go back to that store in a heartbeat. And I love that they have them in a couple of locations, including Strasbourg, which is not that far away. So we'll see. So that is that. And now I'm just surrounded by mountains of yarn. And that is it in terms of the Yarny content. So if you're only here to see the yarn, then thank you so much for watching. If you do want to listen to me ramble about what's been happening, then of course you're very invited to stay around. So, where do I start? Even before our holiday, it's been quite stressful because I last recorded on a Saturday or Sunday, I think. And we only left on Thursday, so I had another work trip to go, which was quite interesting. First of all, it was really, really amazing because I managed to meet up with some knitters in Nuremberg. And we had so much fun. We had dinner and then just hung out and knit and talked about yarny things. And it was really, really fun. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing that again. The whole event, sadly, was a little bit overshadowed by the fact that I had the most disgusting, scary hotel room in, I don't know, I feel like all of Germany. Like, I've stayed in hotels, and really bad hotels and hostels in like Thailand and Indonesia, and yet this was the first time that I actually felt a little bit scared and really, really uncomfortable. The fact that in the morning I found dead cockroaches didn't help. It was really, really disgusting, and I can't blame my work because I actually picked that hotel because I was like, oh great, everything's booked out, but that hotel is still here, and it's very well located and it's cheap. So how bad could it be? Because in my mind I was like, we're in Germany, it can't be that bad, but it turned out it could be. So that was a little bit sad and may have affected my mood, but it was still a really, really fun time to meet up with some knitting people. And yeah, then on Wednesday, which I'm sure if you're German is a very historic day because we lost terribly in the World Cup, and it was so sad. But after that, went for a run, packed our things, and then Thursday morning, we boarded our plane to south of France. So we spent about 9 days in the south of France. We had booked this amazing Airbnb. It was about 20 kilometers north of Nice, if even that. And you had to go up so many hills. It was a beautiful hilly region, and we were what felt like on top of the hill. And our accommodation had a pool, which we mostly had to, we exclusively had to ourselves, which was amazing. Our host was amazing. We really, really liked her. Yeah. So we had a little rental car. We had a little Fiat 500, which I love because I used to drive one myself, which sadly I sold recently. And we had the best time. We had so much fun. We did everything from just hanging by the pool to discovering all these ancient villages in the mountains where you're pretty much the only tourist ever there. Like, it was very, very peaceful and quiet, and you would just walk around these beautiful places with these amazing views, and no one else would be there. We also did some more touristy things, like we went down to the coast, to Nice, to Villefranche-sur-Mer, Aise, Antibes, Jouarre-les-Pins. I think that's most of the places that we visited. Where of course it's a lot more touristy and you can buy all the souvenirs and all that. But again, that's been really fun as well. I did a lot of swimming in the pool. We just hung out by the pool a lot. I did a lot of knitting. I even went for a run, which was really fun. And then I did a mountain run because I thought I needed to practice running up the hills. So I sprinted up the hills. And as a result, I pretty much couldn't walk for 4 days. And it was really bad. But it was fun. What else did we do? We had lots of really delicious French food. Oh my gosh, I love French food so much. But unlike the previous times, this time I feel like I didn't completely overeat, which was good as well. Especially because I have a run coming up in 10 days, which is so scary. But yeah, so that was pretty much our trip. We had so much fun. It went perfectly. It couldn't have gone any better. We had great accommodation, pretty good weather. It was really hot. A couple of afternoons it rained, but it was never really bad. So all in all, it was a really, really fun time. The last thing I guess I should mention is that, of course, we are big soccer fans, which my friend Marion was disgusted to discover. And since we just lost so badly, we just decided to instead, of course, go for the French team. So we actually watched 2 games with the locals, and that was really, really fun. The first time we went, I was expecting, like in Germany, we have big public viewings and stuff. And we went in our local town, and there was like no one there. I think like one family of 5 arrived, and it was quite fun. And then the second game we watched in a different place, and the entire place just went mad, like crazy. I did some clips, which I will put in, I think, at the end of the video, so you can see after winning that match, the entire town just went nuts, which was really, really fun. And then Brazil was playing the same night, so you will see a video of lots of Brazilians on the drums and having a lot of fun before they lost very sadly. So yeah, it was fun to be in France for the World Cup. I did really enjoy that aspect of it as well. Now Tour de France has started and Tour de Fleece has started, and I have no fiber, which is so sad. I know I won't be able to properly do Tour de Fleece anyways. I never banked on that. I just don't have the time, and I will be traveling next week and the following weeks, and yeah, I just don't have the time. But I did order some fiber, which sadly hasn't arrived, but it will probably arrive soon, and then I want to do at least a little bit of spinning, because seeing everyone else's spinning is really, really inspiring. So yeah, that is that. I feel like that was a very unstructured way of talking about my holiday, but oh well, that is it. Next weekend we're going away. I think I should be able to podcast. If not, I will most likely let you know on Instagram, but I think we should be good on that front. So thank you guys so much for listening to this monster episode of this podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying your knitting, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.